Academics. At Oak Mountain Academy, we encourage our students to find their niche in any of our 42 co-curricular opportunities. Over the past 5 years, we have brought home 5 state and 20 regional athletic titles. Our one-act play and literary teams continuously compete at the region and state level, and our academic teams bring home first place more than not. We are warriors creating legacies. To learn more, visit oakmountain.us.
Puttin' Around Golf Carts is your one-stop shop for all your golf cart needs. Sales, service, parts, and even rentals. They do it all. With the largest selection of in-stock carts, parts, and batteries, why would you shop anywhere else? When you cruise around in a custom cart from Puttin' Around, you're sure to be the talk of the neighborhood. Puttin' Around Golf Carts on Highway 78, downtown Villa Rica, or on the web at pnagolfcarts.com. Stop by or give them a call today at 678-941-3920.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org. or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
Good morning. Welcome to the Community Voice. It's a glorious Monday morning because we are now about to embark upon a legendary Community Voice show, probably one for the ages, probably one of the 10 top Community Voice shows of all time. Because we're honored to have in studio the former Carroll County Commission Chairman Marty Smith. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Steve.
You still got the voice. All right. Well, welcome. And we're going to have a good time this morning. At least I am. I don't know about you, but I'm going to have a good time. Well, you kind of left that position, kind of, as County Commission Chair. And you pretty much affected everybody's life in Carroll County by doing so. So you've got a new position, and I'm going to ask you a couple questions about it. But before we get started, I have to put on my news reporter cap because I don't put it on very much anymore. But with this opportunity, you've got to tell me who you're endorsing for the Carroll County Commission Chairman.
Well, I figured that'd be one of the first questions. And
that was the first question.
As a great political answer, as a state employee, I'm not allowed to get involved in the elections. So,
well, we won't tell anybody.
Yeah, so we'll keep it quiet among ourselves. I guess that's a good answer.
Well, it has been a significant change for the county upon your departure. I mean, everything's seems like almost everything's changing. The lives of many people have been changed forever. All those that are running, and so it has been a very significant changeover. But if you're going to decline now, if you should change your mind by the end of the program, just blurt it out.
Throw it out there. We'll do that.
As they say, anything for ratings. Okay, you've got a new position with the state. Tell us about it. It's called the State Property Officer. What in the world is that?
It is a government appointment. When you say I affected everybody in Carroll County, unfortunately, yes, I did. I hope in two ways. One, leaving, we never saw what it would create, the landslide it's created. But two, fortunately, we got a great good governor that I did support that went into office and never knew I'd have this opportunity. And I would have never moved during midstream of an election because, unfortunately, Facebook and everything else, I took a little ridicule about being gone, leaving in the middle of the thing. But unfortunately, when you're building a team at the state level, the governor's staff did not call me and ask me and say, hey, in 2 years, would you like to come on board? It is absolutely an opportunity of a lifetime. My family and I looked at it, and that's what we agreed that it was, and it was something that I felt like I needed to pursue. So it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. So unfortunately, Yes, it did, require a special election. The position is a government appointment and is the state property officer. And with that comes 3 divisions that I'm over. You've got the Georgia Building Authority that we know as GBA. They handle and maintain everything structure-wise on Capitol Hill, from the Capitol itself all the way out to the governor's mansion. We handle the parking. We handle all maintenance, landscaping, the parking decks. We even have 2 cafeterias where we handle food service, banquets, and all that. So we handle everything on Capitol Hill there. Then we have the State Properties Commission that we go by SPC. All the same acronyms you do locally, you have them just as much at the state level. But the SPC handles all the land acquisitions, buying and selling of land, putting agencies in buildings, negotiating the space for private entities, about 2,500 leases. And then the 3rd division that I'm over is called the Georgia State Finance and Investment. It's made up of 2 divisions. You've got the money side, which they knew not to put me over. They're the ones that finance and do the bonds after the legislature gets through every year. And they just appropriated about $1.3 billion to give us over the next 5 years for building. Our 2 largest customers when we talk about building is the Technical College Systems of Georgia, TCSG, and we'll be doing a new building at West Georgia College, so the Board of Regents is our other big, 2 of our biggest suppliers when we talk about building.
Of course, I want to talk about both those projects coming up. But first, how many employees do you have to oversee?
Total about 275, but the levels of management is a lot different at the state level than the county. We got shared services among the 3 divisions: HR, finance, communications, IT, and HR. I think I mentioned those are shared services. So between all 3 divisions, there's about 275 employees versus the 650 we had here at the county level.
Okay, and I think you took along with you an associate, the former county administrator, Carroll Pilgrim. Is that the...
Yes, sir. They allowed me to take a chief of staff for one person. Going into the new position blind, it was a large task for all 3 divisions. So I asked if I could bring one aboard with me, and they approved it, and we talked to Mr. Pilgrim about it, and he was ready to make a change too, so he was ready to grow a little. So
wasn't he mayor of Carrollton at one time?
He was a former mayor as well.
I can't remember exactly. It was long ago and far away.
Another lifetime for all of us. So he's got the political background. He's been around politics all his life. It's good to set up. He loves the organization. So taking him to the state level was just another step for him as well.
Obviously, this was motivated in large part because of your respect for the governor.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Well, years ago, spending a lot of times when we were forming relationships here in Carroll County with Dusty Hightower, Kevin Cook, you name them all. Then when Senator Dugan got involved, I was spending a lot of time. I got where during the legislative session, typically I'd go up every Wednesday. ACCG that I served on the board held a Friday meeting to where you could go up there and sit and listen to everything, because during the legislative session, people don't realize those 90 days going on, or 40 days starting in January, every bill that they are working on affects you at the county level. I'll never forget Senator Dugan at a speech one night turned around and said, "The guy I feel sorry for is you," and pointed at me, because you got the federal, you got state, and then state passes down to us. You got a lot of unfunded mandates. So I knew then I needed to spend more time in Atlanta. So building those relationships, I started going every Wednesday. Well, in between sessions, there was a lot of things, you had a lot of downtime, so I needed an office. And so Dusty Hightower allowed me to use his office over at the club, and then the Secretary of State, which at that time was Brian Kemp, allowed me to use area in his, because we had a local delegate here that was involved there. So just over the last 7-8 years, I really got to know Governor Kemp real well, and supported the direction. He's just a good, down-to-earth guy. I really supported what he was doing. Never had any idea back 7 years ago that he was going to announce, and that would be something that he would look at doing. And I'll be honest with you, the night I went to his election, was invited to come up there, I fired off an email that night when we found out, because as you remember, we also had the T-Splosh at the same time on the value, and I knew how critical it was with the trying to help our public safety here, that it was very critical to adjust the budget with T-Splosh, whether that was the way to go, but that was the direction that my administration, I thought, was best for Carroll County, to where everybody paid versus just property owners. And when it failed, I fired off a text message that night and said, listen, it's going to be very tough in Carroll County to manage the money because it's extremely tight. I said, if y'all decide to build a team and you see where anything I have is of value to the state, I would love to consider. Little did I know 3 months later that process would start, and that's what began this.
Well, you've graciously agreed to tackle some of the hot button campaign issues as best you can in our second segment. So we're going to jump into that. But if you'd like to give us a call, 678-601-TALK, 678-601-8255, or you can find us live on the News Talk 1330 Facebook. And we'll look at your comments that way also. So stay with us. We got more. But first, this word from Oak Mountain Academy and Tanner Health System.
At Oak Mountain Academy, our daily schedule includes convocation, prayer, and the Pledge of Allegiance. By doing so, we build a family-like community where all students grow and flourish and personal faith is encouraged. Through community service and a historical approach to biblical study, our students are taught the value of the warrior way, honesty, respect, and responsibility. Oak Mountain Academy, we are a family creating legacies. To learn more, visit oakmountain.us.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org. or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
Good morning. Welcome back to this Historic Community Voice program with Marty Smith, newly appointed state property officer with the great state of Georgia. Amen. And we thank you for listening, and we're going to throw caution to the wind and jump into, it's been somewhat of a contentious campaign for chairman at times. And then, of course, we got two races, runoff races for commissioners, District 4 and 5. So some of these issues kind of obviously cross over, not only with the chairman, but with the commissioner race. One that tends to come up is we built 2 fire stations, but yet we don't have any firefighters to put in them, if I can say it just kind of bluntly.
Absolutely.
What in the world? How did that come about?
We as a board, on one of our retreat weekends, we agreed, here's the issue. The issue was not needing the fire stations immediately, not knowing we couldn't fill them, but we did not hide one time what the goal was. We had an opportunity to have the state work committee to be able to come out here and build 2 stations for the price of one. They're about $750 apiece, still of about $1.5 million apiece. We elected as a board to start working. At that time, the chief that was in place thought he could staff them with volunteers and was going to apply for a grant that would allow a 5-year period for us to staff, and then over 5 years for us to take over the payment of the new employees. Neither one of those worked out, but the problem we were having, Steve, was we were getting, and I can say literally hundreds and up to 1,000 phone calls since I was in office, all because of ISO. And I will say, I wrote insurance for 11 years. I will say that the insurance agents were writing the policies. The policies have always said 5 road miles. Well, Even when I worked in insurance, they'd do a 5-mile radius. And if you live within that radius, they'd give you that credit for your homeowners that you live within 5 miles or 1,000 foot of a fire hydrant. Well, what happened when ISO came out and started using GPS? Guess what happened? We found out a lot of people that lived 5.3, 5.4, they lost that credit. They went from a 3 or a 5 ISO rating to a 10, which is almost considered not having fire service. With that being said, their insurance quadrupled. We were having some of the deputies go from $700 to maybe $4,000 for their insurance. So our immediate concern was helping those homeowners take care of them. So those, I'm not saying they're dummy fire stations that were put in place, because we had the ultimate goal of filling them as well. But the money has not caught up, or those grants come through to fill them immediately. We are able to staff them with a patrol chief, a deputy, so kind of a rover, and I think there's minimum volunteers. But what people have to realize, that didn't hurt your service. The day the phone rings that you have a 911 call that your house could be on fire, the same station that was reported a year ago will be the same station that comes to you today. So you didn't lose any service. Did you, or have you gained any new service? Absolutely not yet, until they're fully staffed. But that's something the new commission board's going to have to look at.
For the sake of time, and there's so many of these, I'm going to just run through them, as
Sure.
opposed to, because I got like 5 follow-up questions, but we're just going to keep going. Similarly, one of the big hot-button issues of the campaigns has been funding or increasing the salaries of our public safety officers, and the competition that we face from surrounding counties with higher salaries. How were we, in your opinion, were we deficient in past years in giving them the adequate salaries?
Absolutely. I'll if you're going to call it out, you're giving me an opportunity to ask the questions, I'm going to be blunt and answer them. I think the pay, the level of pay has been overlooked for 20, 25, 30 years. I don't think the board has ever, we've had a lot of, if you look at the board as a whole, as a commission since 1989 when it was put in, there's been a lot of personalities and a lot of changes. But I will purposely say that public safety, especially EMA, has been overlooked for years. And I don't think, when I came into office, pay scales, they did not have a raise in 8 years. When I came into office, they did not had a raise in 8 years. In the 7 years I was there, almost 7 years I was there, 6 out of the 7, we were able to put money and appropriately give them something. But it was playing catch up. It's not an adequate pay raise to get them where they need to be. So I'll say, yeah, I'll blame on any former chairman, and I'll blame it on any former board. They did not adequately. Everybody's always scared of raising taxes or looking at new ways of coming up with money. But our patrol, but I will tell you, this is not a local issue. You can turn on the news any night, and it's Cobb County, it's Gwinnett County. It's a 159 county problem around the state of Georgia. So we're not out here in a boat ourselves. But, yes, I'll say pay has been left behind for the employees of Carroll County for a long time, and we did our best to help during one of the worst economic times Carroll County has ever seen. So we were proud to be able to give them some raises and some bonuses along the ways.
Seems like all these issues somehow are intertwined. All right, let's move to the next one, which is what, quote unquote, the backdoor tax increase. We had the property tax reassessment, and then it looks like the county's got is going to spend $3 million more upcoming. Were the taxpayers fully aware that basically these new assessments could lead to a quote unquote backdoor tax increase?
Well, one, where this backdoor tax increase comes from, people need to get involved. When we hold meetings, we'll have 6 or 8 people show up. It's funny how there's 54,000 property owners. The only time they want to get involved is when there's a tax increase. My thing is get involved and understand. The biggest thing is communication and trying to tell our story. That is not a backdoor increase. The law required us every 3 years to do that reassessment. When I came into office, it had not been adequately done in 17 years. We were under a consent order with the state of Georgia, being fined $250,000 a year until we fixed it. What people don't realize, we did the reassessment. The reassessment just appropriately put the pricing on houses and evaluations where they needed to be. If they're wrong, go through the appeals process. That is done through the Board of Assessors, not the Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners always take the hit because there's a change. That is done through the Board of Assessors. So most people don't even know how the system works. Then they look on there, and if you'll look on your tax bill, if you live in the city, you've got the county and you've got school taxes. People, you would not believe that I met that they don't even know the school taxes on there. The biggest portion is your school tax at 18 point some odd percent millage, to where the county's is 8 point something. If you're looking at what the county's doing with the minimum amount of tax that revenue they're bringing in, is to me still a miracle of what they do in Carroll County. And I have citizens that move here from other counties that really support that. So that backdoor tax, we did not off that reassessment, because what Carroll County's got is a floating homestead exemption. The day you buy your house and you lock into a homestead exemption, your 40% valuation will not change. And so that's money we leave laying on the table because administration elected to put that in years ago. So the Carroll County did not make a huge backdoor tax increase when we did evaluation. You know, the schools got a lot more money, but locally the county did not have a windfall of money coming in from that.
This is a follow-up question-rich environment, but we're going to, again, for the second time, move forward. One of the most interesting issues that has just arisen has been the proposal of a facility that could be in Carroll County somewhere, but Highway 27, we're on the very edge of the proposed area where Health and Human Services of the federal government is looking to put a facility for 500 migrant children. We've reached out to Congressman Drew Ferguson with specific questions, but he was unavailable for those specific questions. So we're just kind of left with state and local officials trying to figure this out. George Chamber, Commissioner, made a statement that we aired this morning. It's a short statement. I'd like to play it for us, and we'll get your comment.
Carroll County officials have not been contacted by any state or federal government agencies, and no application has been filed by anyone with the county. This would not be an allowed use under the county zoning ordinance. An application for rezoning would be needed. This item is not up for consideration by the Board of Commissioners because there is no application for the commission to consider.
Well, I guess that pretty well says it. Is this a issue or a non-issue?
I really think a non-issue at this time. I've not had time to research it either. One, let me first say, I think George Chambers, interim commissioner, chairman, George Chambers has done a tremendous job filling that arena right now. His statement is clear. I love news media, but sometimes news media can take information. Once they publicize it, it runs. Because I started seeing people calling me on, saying they're seeing on Facebook, attend the commission meeting. Everybody show up. Well, that's what we do. We run because we think there's a fire. Unfortunately, that was an article saying they're looking. I do know at the federal level, I have heard they're looking. Friends, it's got property out in Texas, said they've contacted that area. They're probably looking in every state somewhere. But have they made any type of local recognition here? At the state level, I've not heard any, and apparently Mr. Chambers has not heard any local county. So to me, it's a non-issue.
Before we go to our next break, you had mentioned, final question on these topics, you had mentioned T-SPLOS coming back. Well, you had mentioned about T-SPLOS, and that's been an issue in these campaigns. Should T-SPLOS be put back before the voters?
I think maybe one day, maybe it should, but absolutely not at this time, is my opinion, simply because you got the regular SPLOS that will be coming up in around 2021. That regular SPLOS it's dire that it is in place, because without it, the roads department, because you supplement that you're allowed to spend on roads and stuff, you're probably supplementing over $3-4 million coming out of SPLOST every year. And if you lost that regular SPLOST, you'd have to shut down half the roads department. Mr. Pope, I don't think would appreciate that at all. 503 square miles. There's got a lot to take care of here in Carroll County. People don't realize the size and the infrastructures that here. Is the whole reason I was saying Carroll County has 100. We roughly pave and resurface right at 20 miles of road every year with the current funding we've got. I think we calculated it'd take 44 years to make a full loop and repave Carroll County. Well, most roads are not going to hold up 44 years. You're going to have to come up with some type of funding to take care of our road and the infrastructure. You're putting more people on them. You're still growing, and I say we're still growing. I lay my head, I still pay. In fact, I can't wait to see who the new chairman is because my property tax, Steve, went up 14% this year. I cannot wait to voice my opinion. So,
well, we'll know tomorrow evening.
Yes, sir, we will.
Tomorrow evening. Marty Smith is our guest this morning, State Property Officer with the great state of Georgia, and we'll have more after this.
Oak Mountain Academy has offered a challenging college preparatory education for over 50 years. With over 500 graduates, we have maintained a 100% college acceptance rate. Over 90% of our students earn acceptance to their first choice of college or university, and over the past 5 years, our students have earned over $10 million in scholarship offers. Our students are creating a legacy. Come, be a part of our family and create your own legacy today. To learn more, visit us at oakmountain.us.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org. or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
Good morning. Welcome back to Community Voice. I'm Steve Graddick, your host, 678-601-TALK, or you can watch us on Facebook Live on the News Talk 1330 Facebook page. Marty Smith, State Property Officer. One topic, one very important topic that we didn't address, we went through that rapid-fire litany of issues in these campaigns, but to me, really kind of maybe the most overriding issue is how do we retain the rural stature, the rural makeup, the rural community that has always been Carroll County in the face of the growth of Metro Atlanta.
Well, I think working through our community development, I've been able to listen to several of the, during the campaign and listen to some of the pods that you do, because I couldn't make them live, obviously, but I think the growth is a huge consideration. But what bothers me, Steve, in the big level, during the big governor's campaign, then Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle made the statement several times on the campaign that over the next 15 years that the population the size of South Carolina will be moving into the state of Georgia. They've got to go somewhere. One, we're growing here naturally. You look at Tanner Medical, always said, look at their birth rate. Carroll County's growing. You're going to have to develop. I knew there were several people that ran that were on the board with me serving at the time that wanted to see absolutely no growth. They were all about farming. I'm all about farming as well, but obviously you've got to at least provide housing. And it's kind of unique with the diversity we have with a college, different technical college here, different things here, but you got to provide housing, for even our own as we grow internally. If you look at the birth rate that Tanner's putting out there, that we are, growing at a good 3% rate or whatever it is, we got to provide housing. I think you just have to manage that very good as a board and do it. I keep hearing we don't want to be like Douglasville. We don't want to be like Paulding County. There's some positives in those, but yes, there are a lot of negatives when you grow too fast, and I think that's a huge concern. Like I say, I live here, pay my tax, and lay my head down here every night. I'm concerned about where Carroll County is going to go. It's the reason I served as chairman as long as I did, and will always be involved. I hope to serve on some committees later on if needed, but I'm concerned about where we're growing in the fact of the rate we're going to grow.
One way to maintain government control by the people is to keep the government as local as it possibly can be. You now have both a local and a state perspective. How important is local control?
It is extremely important. If you had to pick all the legislature, any of them, the legislators, I think Kevin Cook's the one that stands out probably the most, is keep government, out of the people's business. Kevin's done a good job of being the no man to shoot down a lot of things, but I think the goal is to keep as much local control as you can, obviously.
We're running out of time, but real quick, you've unique position to see the allocation of the funding for West Georgia Technical College's new campus, and also, I believe, a facility there at the University of West Georgia. Tell us about that.
Well, very unique. As I was chairman here, we had the West Georgia Technical Park that we inherited, had the infrastructure in, but no use. And after about 4 or 5 years, still nothing developed on there. And working with Daniel Jackson and Carroll tomorrow, we were able to offer it as one of the sites as a potential for the rebuild of West Georgia Technical College. TCSG in the state of Georgia has, I forgot how many campuses, 30 around the state of Georgia, but Carroll County is the only one being considered to totally be rebuilt. Senator Dugan, Dusty Hightower, everybody has worked to get some initial funding for planning. But what was unique is that piece of property did not have any zoning. So working with community development, my board and myself, we managed to get the whole zoning done, working with the homeowners to determine what zoning was appropriate for that area. Once that was done and allowing them to determine what was going to be there, they accepted the property. Then we had to get all the property. It was still agriculture when I took office. We had to get the zoning done. Then we had to give all the property to the Development Authority to be able to allow them to offer it to the state. So all that's been done. Now on the state level, in my position, what the board, the governor has just approved is $50+ million to go towards that campus, and that comes through my office, and I got to sign that on that side too.
Congratulations on that and on your new position with State Property Officer. We wish you the very, very best in the future, and it's been a rapid fire 30 minutes. Thank you for coming in. Any change of mind as far as endorsing anybody for tomorrow?
No, sir. I just hope they could keep it positive and finish this out strong.
And I'm sure you want to encourage everyone to get out and vote.
Please vote.
Our guest this morning, Marty Smith. We thank you for listening to the Community Voice here on WLBB Carrollton.